The vast, unforgiving expanses of Arizona and New Mexico, with their sun-scorched deserts, ancient canyons, and whispering woodlands, have long been the backdrop for legends of otherworldly horrors. Drawing from the spine-tingling accounts shared on Reddit/nosleep, these 6 stories introduce protagonists from diverse walks of life, each facing a brush with what they suspect are skinwalkers, shape-shifting entities rooted in Navajo lore, capable of unimaginable malice. Crafted with immersive detail and raw emotion, these tales delve into the fragile boundary between reality and the supernatural, leaving the survivors desperate for ways to safeguard themselves and their loved ones. Story 1. The Mechanic's Shadow in the Desert. The desert night was colder than I'd expected, the kind of cold that seeps into your bones and makes you feel like the world is holding its breath. My name is Javier Torres, a 38-year-old mechanic who spent half his life under the hoods of trucks and cars at a dusty repair shop off Interstate 10 in southern Arizona. I've always been a practical man. Fix what's broken, move on to the next job. But what happened last week at a remote truck stop called Dusty's Rest has left me questioning everything I thought I knew about the world. I'd been working late, as usual, when a call came in about a stranded trucker at Dusty's, a rundown stop about 20 miles from my shop. The guy sounded desperate, said his rig wouldn't start, and he needed someone out there fast. I didn't love the idea of driving into the desert at midnight, but bills don't pay themselves. And Dusty's was a regular haunt for truckers who tipped well. I grabbed my toolbox, hopped into my old Chevy pickup, and headed out, the headlights slicing through the inky blackness of the Arizona night. Dusty's Rest was a relic, a cluster of weathered buildings surrounded by dunes that seemed to shift with every gust of wind. The neon sign flickered weakly, casting an eerie glow over the gravel lot where a handful of semis sat like sleeping giants. I found the trucker's rig, a beat-up Peterbilt, parked near the edge of the lot. The driver was nowhere in sight, but he'd left a note taped to the window. Gone to grab food. Back soon. Fix it quick, please. I shrugged, figuring he'd wandered to the diner across the lot and popped the hood. The engine was a mess. Spark plugs were missing, wires cut clean through, like someone had taken a blade to them. I cursed under my breath. This wasn't a breakdown. It was sabotage. I scanned the lot, my flashlight beam darting between the trucks, but saw nothing. No footprints, no tire tracks, just the oppressive silence of the desert. Unease prickled my skin, a feeling I hadn't had since I was a kid, listening to my abuela's stories about Yena Lushi, skinwalkers. She'd warned me about the desert, about creatures that wore human faces but weren't human at all. I'd laughed them off back then, but standing alone in that lot, I felt the weight of her words. I decided to wait in my truck until the driver returned. I locked the doors, turned off the flashlight to save the battery, and settled into the driver's seat, the darkness pressing against the windows. My phone had no signal, typical for this stretch of nowhere. I was about to doze off when a low rumble shook the truck, like the engine had tried to turn over and failed. I froze, my hand on the key, which was still in the ignition, set to off. I tried starting the truck. Nothing. Dead as a doornail. My pulse quickened. I'd just serviced this thing 2 days ago. Stepping out, I popped my own hood, the cold air biting my fingers. The engine was in the same state as the truckers. Spark plugs gone, wires severed. My heart pounded. This wasn't kids pulling a prank. No one could have done this so fast, so silently. I slammed the hood shut, the sound echoing in the stillness, and that's when the lights went out. Every light in the lot, diner, gas pumps, even the other truck's cabin lights blinked off, plunging the world into a suffocating void. I scrambled back into my truck, locking the doors, my breath fogging the windows. I drew the curtains, clutching my wrench like a lifeline. Minutes stretched into eternity. My watch read 1:03 a.m., though it felt like hours had passed. Then, a sound. Tap, tap, tap on the passenger window, slow, deliberate, like someone testing the glass. My stomach churned. I didn't move, didn't breathe. The tapping stopped, then started again, louder, more insistent. Against my better judgment, I nudged the curtain aside. A face stared back at me, inches from the glass. It was a woman, or something pretending to be one. Her skin was pale, almost translucent, stretched tight over sharp cheekbones. Her eyes were wrong, sunken, glowing faintly red, like embers in a dying fire. Her lips parted in a smile, too wide, revealing teeth that glinted like polished bone. "Hey, handsome," she rasped, her voice like sandpaper on stone. "Got a light?" I shook my head, my throat dry, unable to speak. Her smile stretched wider, splitting her face, the skin peeling back to reveal something dark and glistening beneath, like the hide of a snake. I yanked the curtain shut, my hands trembling. The tapping turned to banging, the whole truck shaking as if she were trying to claw her way in. Then, silence. I waited, heart hammering, until I heard footsteps crunching away. I peeked out again, just in time to see her approach another truck. A driver, a big guy with a beard, opened his door, confused as she spoke to him. I wanted to yell, to warn him, but fear glued my tongue to the roof of my mouth. He followed her into the shadows behind his rig. What happened next will haunt me forever. A guttural scream tore through the night, cut short by a wet, ripping sound. I peered through the windshield, my flashlight shaking in my hand. The woman stood over the driver, her hand buried in his chest. She yanked it free, holding his heart, still pulsing, in her grip. Her face was gone now, just a raw, eyeless mask of muscle and bone. She turned, locking eyes with me through the glass, and whispered, "I'll find you again, handsome." Then she dragged the body into the darkness, leaving a trail of blood that glistened under the stars. I didn't sleep. When dawn broke, the lights flickered back on, and a tow truck arrived to haul my Chevy to the shop. I told the cops about the driver, but I didn't mention the woman, or whatever she was. They found his rig empty, no body, no blood. I'm back at my shop now, but I can't shake the feeling that she's watching. My sister and her kids live with me, and our dog, Chico, has been acting strange, whining at the windows at night. I need to know how to keep them safe, how to keep that thing away. The days since have been a blur. I've started carrying a pouch of cedar ash, something my abuela swore by, but I don't know if it's enough. I've heard skinwalkers can't cross running water or enter a home uninvited, but my shop's in the middle of nowhere and I can't afford to move. I've asked around town discreetly, and an old Navajo mechanic suggested I find a medicine person for a protection ceremony. I'm hesitant. I'm not Navajo and I don't want to step on toes, but I'm desperate. If anyone knows how to ward off a skinwalker, please tell me. I can't lose my family to this thing. Story 2. The nurse's terror in the moonlit backyard. I'm Amara Jackson, a 27-year-old ER nurse living in a small house on the outskirts of Window Rock, Arizona. I share the place with my mom, her girlfriend, Lena, and my two younger cousins, who we took in after their parents passed. Our home is modest, a single story with a sprawling backyard that bleeds into the desert. No fences to mark where our property ends and the wilderness begins. Last night, something came to our doorstep, something that wasn't human, and I'm still trembling as I try to make sense of it. Lena's been struggling with anxiety, and she's been on a mission to declutter our cramped house. Last night, she asked me to help burn a pile of old medical journals and boxes in the backyard. I was exhausted from a double shift, but I agreed, figuring the fresh air might do me good. We dragged the boxes out under a full moon, its light casting long shadows across the sand. Our dogs, Luna, a 3-year-old shepherd, and Max, a scrappy terrier, were tied up near the shed to keep them safe from the fire. The flames crackled, and for a moment it felt almost peaceful, the desert air cool against my skin. Then Luna started barking, a frantic, guttural sound I'd never heard from her before. Max joined in, his hackles raised, both dogs straining against their leashes toward the edge of the yard. I thought it was a javelina or a coyote, common enough out here, but the air felt wrong, heavy, like a storm was brewing despite the clear sky. I called out, "Luna, what's got you so riled up?" Trying to keep my voice light, but my pulse quickened. I walked toward the shed, the moonlight illuminating the path. That's when I felt it, a presence, like eyes drilling into my back. I turned, and there it was, standing just beyond the firelight. It was tall, at least 8 feet, its body skeletal, wrapped in skin so black it seemed to absorb the light. Its eyes glowed a sickly green, unblinking, fixed on me. It didn't move, but I felt its hatred, a visceral rage that made my knees weak. My mind screamed that this thing wanted to tear me apart. I yelled for Lena, my voice cracking, and glanced at her for just a second. When I looked back, the thing was gone. The air still thrummed with its presence, like it was hiding just out of sight. I ran to Lena, babbling about what I'd seen. She looked shaken, admitting she'd seen a shadow lurking near the back door, its face pressed against the glass. We doused the fire, grabbed the dogs, and bolted inside, locking every door. As we checked the house, we found the basement window shattered, glass strewn across the floor like someone had tried to claw their way in. I called my mum, who was at a late-night church meeting. She rushed home, trying to calm me with logical explanations, a burglar, a prank, but nothing fit. Later, Lena heard the dogs' leashes rattling outside, though they were safe in the living room. I couldn't stay. I took my cousins to my uncle's house, a traditional Navajo man who's always believed in the old stories. He listened, his face grave, and said the hairs on his arms stood up as I spoke. He felt the same dark energy I did, something unnatural stalking us. This morning, Mum called, saying she'd invited friends over for protection, some with concealed carry permits. But last night, she heard Luna growling at the back door, though no one was outside. The dogs are still on edge, and so am I. I'm terrified for my cousins, for Mum and Lena, for our dogs. My uncle suggested a medicine person, but I'm not Navajo, and I don't know where to start. How do I protect my family from this thing? I've started keeping a knife by my bed and burning sage, something a coworker mentioned, but it feels like grasping at straws. My uncle warned me not to speak of skinwalkers openly, that it draws their attention, but I'm desperate for answers. If anyone knows how to keep this thing away, please help. I can't let it hurt the people I love. Story 3. The Teacher's Tragedy in the Whispering Forest. I'm Ethan Caldwell, a 30-year-old high school history teacher living in a quiet Arizona town nestled against a sprawling forest. My fiancée, Nora, a wildlife biologist, was my everything. Her laugh, her passion for the wild, her way of making every day brighter. Last weekend, she went missing on a research trip, and what I've uncovered since has broken me. I'm writing this to make sense of the nightmare, to beg for help, because I think something inhuman took her from me. Nora was studying nocturnal bats in the forest near our town, a place of towering pines and hidden waterfalls. She texted me Saturday afternoon. Running late, love. Be home soon. XOXO. I wasn't worried. She often stayed out late for her work, but by midnight, she hadn't returned, and her phone went straight to voicemail. Panic set in. I called the sheriff's department, then grabbed our beagle, Daisy, and drove to the trailhead where she'd parked her Subaru. The car was there, parked at an odd angle under a flickering streetlight, not like Nora at all. The doors were locked, her field notes and camera inside, untouched. My stomach twisted. With Daisy leashed, I headed into the forest, the trail swallowed by darkness. My flashlight barely pierced the gloom, the trees looming like silent sentinels. I called Nora's name, my voice echoing, unanswered. Daisy whined, her ears flat, sensing something I couldn't. I checked my phone, rereading her last text. Desperate, I sent, "Where are you, Nora? I'm here." The message marked delivered, then read. My heart leapt, then sank as a reply came. No. No punctuation, no warmth. Another text followed. I hear you calling. Come closer. My hand shook. It didn't sound like her. I typed, "Tell me where you are, please." Daisy growled, pulling toward a side path. Then I heard it, a faint chime. Nora's phone notification, coming from the darkness. I ran toward the sound, branches clawing at my face. The trail turned treacherous, roots and rocks tripping me up. Daisy yelped, and I stumbled, my ankle twisting on a jagged stone. I hit the ground hard, my flashlight rolling away. As I scrambled up, I heard a rustle, a twig snapping to my left. I swung the light, catching a glimpse of something tall and thin. Its silhouette humanoid but wrong, its head featureless like a void. It vanished before I could focus. I sent another text. "Nora, where are you?" The chime rang again, closer, but when I reached the spot, there was nothing. No phone, no Nora. Daisy's barking turned frantic, and I retreated, calling the police from the trailhead. They searched the next day, finding only a pair of Nora's silver earrings in the parking lot, ones she never took off. Couldn't sleep. Driving through town, questioning hikers, checking social media for leads. Nothing. On Thursday, a new text came at 6:42 a.m. "I'll see you soon, love." Attached was a photo, a grainy selfie of Nora in the forest, her face shadowed, eyes hidden by her hood. The background was all grey, like it was taken at dusk or dawn. My stomach churned. I sent it to the police, but they had no leads. That night, another text. "Are you coming to find me?" I wanted to go back, but friends on Reddit warned it was a trap. I stayed home. Daisy curled at my feet, but I couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. Friday morning, my phone rang. Nora's number. I answered, my voice breaking. "Nora, where are you?" Silence, then a faint rustling, like wind through leaves. "Please say something," I begged. The call cut off. I drove to the trailhead, not knowing why, and saw smoke rising from the forest. I ran toward it, heart pounding, and found a clearing with a smoldering fire. There, in the flames, was Nora's body. I collapsed, screaming, as the police pulled me away. Back home, I pored over our photos, seeking comfort. But in one, a selfie of us on our porch, I noticed something in the window behind us. A figure, tall and headless, stood in the yard, staring. I checked older photos. It was there, again and again, lurking outside our windows, in the shadows of our bedroom. Last night, Daisy barked at the front window, and I saw it, a silhouette, watching from the street. I locked every door, called the police, and now I'm waiting, terrified it's coming for me next. I've heard skinwalkers can mimic voices, use phones, even stalk you for months. I've started burning cedar, as a colleague suggested, but I need real help. How do I protect myself, Daisy, my students? How do I stop this thing? Story 4. The Hiker's Nightmare on the Canyon Rim. My name is Riley Chen, a 25-year-old freelance photographer, an avid hiker based in Sedona, Arizona. I've always found solace in the Red Rock Canyons, capturing sunrises and sunsets with my camera, escaping the chaos of city life. I live alone in a tiny apartment on the edge of town with just my cat, Shadow, for company, but I often bring friends on weekend treks. 2 days ago, during a solo hike along the remote Devil's Bridge Trail, I encountered something that turned my passion into pure terror, and now I'm afraid it's followed me home. I'd set out early, before dawn, to beat the crowds and get those golden hour shots. The trail was familiar, steep switchbacks leading to a natural sandstone arch overlooking the canyon. As the sun crested the horizon, painting the rocks in fiery hues, I felt alive. But as I reached the bridge, a strange fog rolled in from the valley below, unusual for this dry climate. It clung to the ground like smoke, muffling sounds and distorting the landscape. I shrugged it off as a weather quirk and set up my tripod. That's when I heard the whispers, faint at first, like wind through the junipers, but soon forming words. Riley, come closer. My name, clear as day. I froze, scanning the fog, but saw no one. Heart racing, I called out, "Who's there?" No answer, just the whispers growing louder, mimicking my voice now. "Who's there? Who's there?" echoing back at me from all directions. Panic surged. I packed my gear hastily, but as I turned to leave, a shape emerged from the mist, a coyote, larger than any I'd seen, its fur matted and eyes reflecting an unnatural yellow glow. It didn't move like a normal animal. It loped toward me on 2 legs, its body twisting mid-stride into something vaguely human. The fur sloughed off like shedding skin, revealing pale, mottled flesh underneath. Its face was a grotesque parody of mine, same dark hair, same features, but elongated, with jagged teeth protruding from a snarling mouth. "Riley," it croaked in my voice, "join us in the canyon." I bolted, scrambling down the trail, rocks skittering under my feet. Behind me, I heard paws or feet pounding the earth, closing in. I tripped near the bottom, rolling into a crevice, my camera shattering on impact. The thing loomed over the edge, its form shifting again, now a twisted amalgamation of coyote and human, claws scraping the rock. It let out a howl that wasn't animal or human, a sound that vibrated through my bones. I stayed hidden until the fog lifted, then ran to my car, cuts and bruises throbbing. When I got home, Shadow hissed at the door, refusing to come near me, as if I smelled wrong. That night, I heard scratching at my window, slow, deliberate, like nails on glass. Peeking out, I saw the coyote version of the thing sitting on my fire escape, staring with those glowing eyes. It tilted its head, whispering my name again. I've barricaded the doors, but Shadow won't stop yowling, and I keep getting texts from unknown numbers. Come back to the bridge. I'm terrified for my safety, for Shadow, and for any friends I might drag into this. I've sprinkled salt around the apartment, something I read online, but it doesn't feel like enough. An elder in town mentioned avoiding eye contact and using pollen blessings, but I'm not sure how to proceed respectfully. Please, if you know how to ward off a skinwalker, tell me. I can't let it mimic me forever. Story 5. The Rancher's Curse Under the Starlit Plains. I'm Marcus Hale, a 45-year-old rancher running a small cattle operation near Gallup, New Mexico, on land that's been in my family for generations. I live with my wife, Sarah, our teenage son, Jake, and a herd of cows that keep us tied to this arid plain. We're tough folks. Droughts, coyotes, we've handled it all. But last month, during a midnight roundup, I crossed paths with a horror that defies explanation, and now it's targeting my family, one by one. It started with missing livestock. At first, a calf here, a steer there, vanishing without tracks or blood. I blamed rustlers, setting up night watches with my rifle. One clear night, under a blanket of stars, I rode out on horseback, my horse, Rusty, snorting uneasily. The air grew thick, carrying a foul stench like rotting meat mixed with sulfur. Then I spotted it, a figure crouched over a downed cow, tearing into its flesh with bare hands. It looked like a man at first, tattered clothes, hunched posture, but as I approached it stood, its limbs cracking and elongating, skin rippling like water. Its face turned toward me, and I nearly fell from the saddle. It wore my father's face, dead 10 years now, but twisted. Eyes black voids, mouth stretched in a lipless grin. Marcus, it hissed in Dad's gravelly voice. The land is hungry. Feed it. Blood dripped from its chin, and I realized the cow's hide was peeled back perfectly, like a suit ready to wear. I fired a shot, but it dodged unnaturally fast, melting into the shadows. Rusty bucked, throwing me, and I hit the ground, winded. By morning the cow was gone, no evidence left. Sarah thought I dreamed it, but Jake found strange prints around the barn, human feet morphing into hooves. That night, Sarah screamed from the kitchen. Something was at the window, peering in with my father's face, whispering her name. Jake's been having nightmares, drawing pictures of the thing wearing his grandpa's skin. Our dog, Buddy, disappeared yesterday, and I found his collar shredded near the fence. I've strung up iron horseshoes and started burning juniper branches, old rancher remedies, but the whispers continue outside at night. A local Navajo friend suggested a singer for an enemy way ceremony, but we're outsiders here, and I don't want to impose. I'm losing sleep, fearing for Sarah and Jake. How do I shield them from this curse? If anyone has knowledge of banishing skinwalkers, share it before it claims us all. Story 6. The Artist's Vision in the Ancient Ruin. I'm Sophia Ramirez, a 32-year-old mural artist living in a converted adobe studio in Chaco Canyon, New Mexico. My work draws from indigenous histories, painting vibrant scenes on community walls, and I share my space with my partner, Alex, an archaeologist, and our parrot, Pico, who mimics everything. Last week, While sketching at the ancient Pueblo ruins for inspiration, I unearthed a nightmare that blurs the line between art and abomination. And now it's invading my dreams and home. The ruins are sacred, layered with history, and I visit respectfully, seeking motifs for my next project. That afternoon, as the sun dipped low, casting elongated shadows over the stone walls, I noticed a petroglyph I'd never seen before. A humanoid figure with animal features etched freshly, as if just carved. Curious, I traced it with my fingers, and a chill wind whipped up, carrying distant chants. Then, from behind a crumbled wall, a voice echoed, "Sophia, paint me true." I spun around to find a man, or what looked like one, standing there, draped in a feathered cloak, his skin painted in intricate patterns like my murals, but his eyes were wrong, pupils slit like a goat's, shifting colors. He smiled, and his teeth were filed to points. "You've awakened me," he said, his voice layering over itself like multiple people speaking. I backed away, but he lunged, his body contorting, feathers molting to reveal fur and scales beneath. It was a skinwalker, embodying the petroglyph, shape-shifting before my eyes into a chimeric beast. I fled through the ruins, the thing pursuing on all fours, its form flickering between man, bird, and serpent. It mimicked Pico's squawks, then Alex's laugh, drawing me off path. I hid in a kiva, heart pounding, until silence fell. When I emerged at dusk, the petroglyph was gone, erased as if never there. Back home, Alex dismissed it as heat exhaustion, but Pico started repeating phrases in that layered voice. "Paint me true." Last night, I woke to scratching on the studio walls. Inside, shadows danced, forming the creature's outline on my unfinished canvas, paint dripping like blood. Alex saw it too, and Pico fell silent, feathers ruffled. I've smudged the house with white sage and hung turquoise amulets, but the visions persist. A museum curator mentioned consulting a hatali for blessings, but as a Latina artist inspired by these cultures, I want to approach with care. I'm scared for Alex, for Pico, for my sanity. How can I erase this entity? Please, advise on protecting against skinwalkers before it consumes my world. These stories from the deserts of Arizona and New Mexico remind us that some shadows in the night are more than mere illusions. Javier, Amara, Ethan, Riley, Marcus, and Sophia faced horrors beyond reason, skinwalkers, shapeshifters, entities lurking at the edge of our world. Their desperate fight to protect their loved ones raises a question we all fear. What do you do when the supernatural comes for you? From ancient rituals to modern safeguards, the battle for safety is real and far from over. Have you encountered something inexplicable in the dark, heard whispers in the wind, or seen glowing eyes where no one should be? Share your story in the comments below, because you're not alone. Subscribe for more chilling tales from the brink of reality, and hit the bell to stay updated on ways to protect yourself from the unknown. If you know ancient remedies, rituals, or methods to ward off these entities, drop them below. Someone out there needs your help. Stay vigilant and keep watching the eerie shadows. The desert never forgets, neither should you. Stay safe, and we'll see you in the next tale.